This is day 22 of Advent of Cyber 2025. This challenge is called C2 Detection, Command and Carol. TBFC is very wary since the last series of attacks by the underlings of King Malhir. They are on full alert for anything happening, but they are getting restless. It is too quiet. Sir Elfo of the TBFC takes the initiative and proposes to hunt for command and control traffic, using the meticulously collected network traffic. The majority of the TBFC elves object. They don't have the time to go through so much network traffic. Elfo chuckles. Don't fret, for I have a powerful tool to assist us. I present to you RITA, Real Intelligence Threat Analytics. We just need to convert our PCAP file to Zeek logs, and Rita will do the rest. Anyone can do it. Just follow today's task. So the learning objectives are to convert a PCAP to Zeek logs, use Rita to analyze Zeek logs, and then analyze the output of Rita. So for this challenge, we just need to start the virtual machine, and it'll open up in split view. Magic of Rita. Real Intelligence Threat Analytics is an open source framework created by Active Countermeasures. Its core functionality is to detect command and control communication by analyzing network traffic, captures, and logs. Primary features are C2 beacon detection, DNS tunneling detection, long connection detection, data exfiltration detection, checking threat intelligence feeds, score connections by severity, show the number of hosts communicating with a specific external IP, show the date time when the external host was first seen on the network. Magic behind Rita is its analytics. It correlates several captured fields, including IP addresses, ports, timestamps, connection durations, among others. Based on the normalized and correlated dataset, Rita runs several analysis modules collecting information like periodic connection intervals, excessive number of DNS queries, long, full qualified domain names, random subdomains, volume of data over time over HTTPS, DNS or non-standard ports, self-signed or short-lived certificates, known malicious IPs by cross-referencing with public threat intel feeds or block lists. Rita only accepts network traffic input as Zeek logs. Zeek is an open source network security monitoring tool. Zeek is not a firewall or IPS or IDS. It does not use signatures or specific rules to take connection. It simply observes network traffic via span ports, used to copy traffic from one port to another for monitoring. This is called network taps or imported packet captures in the PCAP format. Zeek then analyzes and converts this input to a structured, enriched output. This output can be used in incident detection and response, as well as threat hunting. Out of the box, Zeek covers 2 of the 4 types of NSM data: transaction data, summarized records of application layer transactions, and extracted content, files or artifacts extracted, such as executables. So let's get started. A neat feature of Zeek is that I can convert packet captures into structured logs. If you haven't yet done so, open the VM and start a terminal. Navigate to the home directory of the logged in user and list its contents as shown in the terminal below. You can see 2 directories named PCAPs and Zeek logs. Okay, so bring up the terminal, type ls to see what's in the current directory, and we see PCAPs and Zeek logs here. So the PCAPs directory contains example PCAPs of real life incidents collected from Bradley Duncan's blog. There's a wonderful collection of malware related PCAPs that cover real world threats, and the Zeek logs directory contains Zeek logs. These were created by passing a PCAP file. So let's pass a PCAP outside ourselves and look at the output Zeek logs. So the command is Zeek read PCAP, and in the PCAPs directory, we're using the async rat PCAP and outputting it to Zeek logs and calling it async rat. So let's examine the logs created. Navigate to Zeek logs async rat and list its contents. Let's cd into Zeek logs and async rat and ls in there, and we can see all the logs within that. So in the terminal above, we can see the different Zeek logs that were generated. We're using Rita. We don't really need to know what is in these logs, although the names are quite self-descriptive. However, if you are interested, you can use cat to examine the contents and find more info. There's Zeek documentation if you want. So now that we have those Zeek logs prepared, we can import them into Rita and unleash its analytics. Enter the command below to import the Zeek logs and let Rita do its work. So inside, we will go back to the home directory and we'll do Rita import -- logs and do tilde for home directory / Zeek logs async rat, and the database will be called async rat. Okay, looks to be done now. So we can view the results by entering the command Rita view in the database name. We clear this and then Rita view async rat. After entering the command, You can see a structured terminal window with the results as shown in the image below, which we can see. The terminal window shows 3 elements: the search bar, the results pane, and a details pane. I'm going to have to go full screen to be able to see everything. There we go, now you can see everything. So there's the search bar. To search, we need to enter /forward. We can and then enter our search term and narrow down the results. Search utility supports the use of search fields. When we enter a question mark while in search mode, we can see an overview of the search fields alongside some examples. The image below shows that the help for the search utility: to exit the help page, enter question mark again, enter escape key to exit the search functionality. Sorry, the results pane. Results pane includes information for each entry that can quickly help us recognize potential threats. The volume column included, severity, a score calculated based on the results of the threat modifiers, source and destination IP and free FQDN, beacon likelihood, duration of the connection. Long connections can be indicators of compromise. Most application layer protocols are stateless and close the connection quickly after exchanging data. Exceptions are SSH, IDP, and VNC. Subdomains, connections to subdomains with the same domain name. There are many subdomains. It could indicate the use of a C2 beacon or other techniques for data exfiltration. Threat intel lists any matches on threat intel feeds. So there's 2 interesting findings: an FQDN pointing to this domain and an IP address. Move the keyboard arrows to select the first entry. So if we go to here, so inside of here, if we arrow keys to first entry, I think I was talking about this one. Okay, yeah, so when we move around, shows the information on the right side here. On the first one, details pane. Apart from the source and destination, we have 2 information categories: threat modifiers and connection info. Let's have a closer look at these categories. So threat modifiers. These are criteria to determine the severity and likelihood of a potential threat. Following modifiers are available: MIME type, URI mismatch. Flags, connections where the MIME type reported in the HTTP header doesn't match the URI. This can indicate an attacker is trying to trick the browser or security tool. Rare signature points to unusual patterns that attackers might overlook, such as unique user agent string that is not seen in any other connections on the network. Prevalence analyzes the number of internal hosts communicating with a specific external host. A low percentage of internal hosts communicating with an external one can be suspicious. First seen checks the date an external host was first observed on the network. New host on the network is most likely to be a potential threat. Missing host header identifies the HTTP connections that are missing the host header, which is often an oversight by attackers or sign of a misconfigured system. Large amount of outgoing data flags connections that send a very large amount of data out from the network. No direct connections flags connections that don't have any direct connections, which can be a sign of a more complex or hidden command and control communication. So connection information. Here we can find the connections metadata and basic connections info like connection count. Shows the number of connections initiated between the source and destination. A very high number can be an indicator of C2 beacon action. Total bytes sent displays the total amount of bytes sent from source to destination. This is a very high number. Could be an indication of data exfiltration. Port number protocol service. Port number is non-standard. It warrants further investigation. The lack of SSL in the service info could also be an indicator that warrants further investigation. So what is this? Now that we have covered the look and feel of Rita, let's focus on the results displayed by Rita. Most of the time, the results that are displayed warrant some attention. Even if the entry does not have a high severity score, it can still be an indicator of compromise. We are using a smaller dataset, and this has some downsides. So for example, the first seen threat modifier is relatively low due to small time frame packets being captured. This can affect the severity score. In any case, we can still examine the entries and the details and make our own analysis. If we examine the first one, we notice the long, fully qualified domain name. A quick search on VirusTotal indicates that this URL is flagged as malicious, so that was easy. Go ahead and check the destination IP of the second entry as well. We are lucky to have found known indicators of compromise immediately. However, this is not always the case. Attackers often change the infrastructure and rotate IPs and domains. Therefore, we should look a bit further when we don't have a hit with known ISCs. Let's analyze the entries a bit more. When we look at the details pane, we can see more info. Rita included the rare signature and threat modifier. This inclusion indicates that the combination of certain parameters, such as SSL certificate details, related to this connection is uncommon compared to the rest of the analyzed HTTPS traffic. Malware or C2 connections often create unique TLS handshake patterns that differ from those of browsers and legitimate clients, making them stand out even though the payload is encrypted. There's not much more we can say about the first entry, so let's have a look at the second entry. The IP is malicious according to VirusTotal. The connection duration is quite long. The ports mentioned are non-standard. This information warrants further investigation. You can pivot on the information you have obtained and dig into the Zeek logs and PCAP file, which is out of the scope of this walkthrough, but can dig through if you want to. So how many hosts are communicating with malhare.net? Okay, so we now need to start the process again. So let's find the first command we ran to use Zeek on the logs. So Zeek read PCAP, and we are using them on Rita challenge, Rita_challenge, and then we'll name same thing, Rita_challenge, not challenged. So run that. My mistake. I forgot to put .pcap there. .pcap. So we've created the Zeek logs. Now we will use Rita to import Rita challenge, and we will name the database Rita_challenge. That is done. So let's clear that. And now we use Rita to use that database. Rita view Rita_challenge. Okay, so we've now got this that has been brought up. Let's see how many hosts are communicating with malhare.net. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On here we've got the source, the destination, and just count through how many actually connected to malhare.net. That is 6. Which threat modifier tells us the number of hosts communicating to a certain destination. So the threat modifiers are here. Number of hosts connecting to a certain destination. I'm not sure which one. Doesn't seem to be anything that fits this. So it tells us the number of hosts communicating to a certain destination. There's something I meant to look at over here. Oh, I think it's prevalence. Prevalent. Okay, that was correct. What is the highest number of connections to malhare.net? That one has 31, 40. Okay, 40 is the highest. Which search filter would you use to search for all entries that communicate to rabbit.malhare.net with a beacon score greater than 70%, sorted by connection duration? Yeah, I'm not actually sure how we would search that. Let's try question mark. Alright, slash to go search and try question mark. So we want destination, beacon score, duration. So est rabbit hole dot malhare.net, and then it will be beacon score. So beacon so we've got assume will be greater or equal to 70, and then connection duration. Actually no, that's not going to be, that's for sorting by duration. So sort, you can see on the left here, sort duration dash descending, was it? The question is, can I copy this? Yes I can. Appears to be the query. So go back to here. That is correct. Which port did host 10.0.0.13 use to connect to rabbit hole? Since we're already in the search, we may as well use a search for the source. So 10.0.0.13. Let's begin the search. It says port 80. So that was used to connect to malhare.net. And that is the last question and day 22 of Advanced Cyber 2025 complete. Like this video, make sure to like and subscribe.